So last day we looked at launching from a cliff at an angle, and Misha, the reason that was the most difficult was there was the least amount of information that we knew. There's certain things launching from the ground that we could assume, and that gave us some shortcuts for finding time because we're going to spend most of our time finding time. So for example, when we were launching from the ground at an angle, we knew that Vy initial and Vy final were the same. That was a great shortcut. When we were launching horizontally from a cliff, that wasn't too bad because if you were launching horizontally from a cliff, Vy initial was 0. You still had a quadratic equation, but the quadratic equation was much nicer. Pause for a second. Back to where I was. I totally lost my train of thought here. Oh yeah, horizontally from a cliff, we knew since Vy initial was 0, you got a nice quadratic. It was still a squared, but there was only a square, and you can get the squared by itself in square root. From a cliff at an angle, did I say angle? It was still a job for components. It's a projectile. We still went with a t-table. We still went with what we called our physics no-brainers. Ax was equal to 0. Good thing you made it in time for me to come back to you on that. Ay is equal to negative 9.8. And then we said to find time, we had two options. We could use the quadratic formula. We could use a quadratic solver to solve the quadratic formula. Or if you wanted to, we did have enough information to find Vy final. Now the issue with this method is you would get a positive answer. You had to include the negative after the fact. You had to say, actually this time when I'm taking the square root, I want the negative one because I know I'm going down. But then you could also find time. And we found if you did that, especially if you used your answer button for all of your values, you got exactly the same value either way. Oh, using the quadratic method, you also got a negative answer. Time isn't negative, so we rejected it. All we're going to be doing today is asking, okay, how far can I take this? What else can we do? We're going to kick things up a notch. So B says, find time to top. The word top, does that suggest vertical or horizontal? So I'm going to make a little note here. Ay is negative 9.8. Are you all still on the same page? Let me pause again. Another late comer. Starting again now that more late students have showed up. I think I said, are you all on the same page or not? Okay, I'm going to have to relist my data because I've scrolled down. Vy initial was, 25. Do I know anything else about the top? What else do I know about the top? Yeah. What's Vy final? Ah, okay. So I can still make that assumption, and I can find time. This isn't too bad, and that's why I didn't leave you much room to solve that, because we don't need to bring out a quadratic equation. Could I just take this time here, 6.88145, and divide by 2? Wouldn't I be at the top halfway? Only if I was starting on the ground and ending up on the... Here, the projectile path that I'm tracing is going to look like this. I'm going to be falling down for way longer than I'm going to be going up. And so I unfortunately can't just use that shortcut. But I do have an equation that has an A, a VI, and a V, that's a V, a VF, and a T in it. I think I can get the T by itself. I think I can go T equals VF minus VI over A. Is that correct? I believe. It's going to be 0 minus 25 divided by negative 9.8. The time to get to the top is 2.55 seconds. 2.55102. I'll go 2.55. What else do I now know? Since I know the total time and the time to top, I guess I could subtract those. And Brian, I now know how long I'm falling for. Okay. Brian, what does C want me to find? What's the range, horizontal or vertical? In fact, it's a synonym for dx. So I'm going to say, okay, dx equals question mark. Ryan, what was the horizontal acceleration? What was the horizontal acceleration? Don't make that mistake. That's the most common one. Vx was 50 cos 30, and I didn't even bother crunching it, although I could have. What else do I need to find the range? Yep, time. Do I know the time? Yeah. Which time am I going to use? Total time of flight, which is going to be 6.88145, blah, 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 blah. I'm looking for an equation that has a D, a V, an A, and a T in it. There is one. I think it ends up becoming this. What happened to the plus a half AT squared? Ryan, what's horizontal acceleration? So plus a half 0 squared times t squared isn't going to change anything, so I didn't even bother writing it. This is your horizontal, this is your range distance equation. Your vertical distance equation is going to be the full one. If you're lucky launching horizontally from a cliff vertically, you can at least say that's 0 and get a bit of a nicer version. Horizontally, because a is 0, we lose the quadratic term, and it becomes a much nicer equation. It's going to be 50 cos 30 times 6.88145. 50 cos 30, I have to close off a bracket on mine, times 6.88145. And I got a range of, looks like pretty close to 298 meters. So this projectile, Brian, from the cliff started 60 meters high, and it went 298 meters that way. What else can we do? Oh, you'll notice, Brian, I didn't leave much room for range. I didn't leave much room for find time to top. Brian, what's D asking me to find? Did I leave a fair bit of room for that? Okay. What's the impact velocity? I'm going to dulp. This is the impact velocity. Boom. I think when it hits the ground, it's going sideways still, and it's going down. Is that okay? Now, my dulp, maybe, don't write this down, it might be steeper, it might be shallower, but I'm telling you, Sean, when it hits the ground, it's going to look something like that. It's going to hit the ground at an angle. Did I say angle? This is a job for. If you want to, in the margin, as a little note to yourself, you could write dulp, because that's how we're solving this. We started out drawing it first that way. So this here is, I'll call it V imp for impact. I heard a phone, didn't I? Did I hear a phone? It was yours! Oh, thank you. So kind of you. What component is this? Do you say Vx? Yeah. Wait a minute. I know Vx. It's 50 cos 30, whatever the heck that is. What component is this? Now, I know it's Vy. Which Vy? Initial? Isn't initial 25 going on the way up? I don't think this looks like it's on the way up. I don't think it's negative 25 either. I don't think it's initial. I think it's the opposite of initial. Oh. Which I can find. Now, actually, we already found that on the previous page. We found that Vy final was negative 42.4382. We used Vs squared equals Vi squared plus 2AD. So 42.4382, 42.4382. Mr. Dueck, yes, Misha, why didn't you put the negative in front of the 42? Because the negative is included in that down arrow right there. That's negative. It's already in there. How could I find the magnitude of the impact velocity? For instance, letter P. Really? Math 8? Really? Oh, I like that. So you're telling me that the magnitude is going to be, I'm going to go 50 cos 30 and store that on my calculator. It's 43.3 apparently. So now I'm going to go that number squared plus 42.4382 squared square root. Do you get 60.6? Anybody else? Yeah. 60.6 units. It's the velocity. And this is wrong. This isn't a velocity, it's a speed. What's the difference between a speed and a velocity? What does a velocity have to have? Both magnitude and... Where am I going to put theta? Where the vector is originating from. Where is that going to be? Bottom right or top left? Top left. That 42.4382, opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. The Vx, adjacent. And what did I say Vx was? It ended up being 43.301. I'll write that in here. 43.301. Which trig function can I use? Looks like I can use tan again. And it's going to be 42.4382 opposite over 43.301 adjacent. And then how do I find an angle? I'm going to hit my shift button. By the way, this 42.4, 43.3, are they almost the same size? This is really close to an isosceles triangle. I think theta is going to be really close to 45 degrees. If I got something like 12 degrees, I'd freak out, Tim, and I'd say, I probably typed something in wrong. I'm pretty sure it's going to be really close to 45 degrees. I get, oh, yeah, 44.4 degrees. North of south, east of west, what of what? Well, if you said south of east, I wouldn't take marks off, except we're looking at this from the side. That is not north. Pointing to the ceiling is not north. Pointing to the ground is not south in our three-dimensional world. So if you called it south of east, I wouldn't freak out, but I'd kind of think bad thoughts about you. We have a name for this when it's from the side. We call it below the horizontal. What if instead of pointing downwards, what if it was pointing upwards? I wouldn't call it below the horizontal. I would call it above the horizontal. Horizontal or angle of depression is the other thing that we called it, but typically when we're talking about a projectile, we'll say, oh, the angle is above the horizontal or below the horizontal. But if you said south of east, I wouldn't freak out. I would just glare at you and say, point to the ceiling, that's not north. Point to the ground, that's not south. So we can handle a lot of information here. Example 2. A says find the flight time, B says find the range. This is a cliff at an angle. You know what I'm going to spend most of my time finding? Time. Did I say angle? This is a job 4? Okay. So I'm going to kind of redraw this a little bit bigger. So I have 35 meters per second. And the angle here is 20 degrees. Components. Vx, Vy initial. Why didn't I put an initial on the Vx? Because there's no the acceleration horizontally is 0, so Vx is initial is Vx, final is Vx in the middle. Just reminding myself of that. Vy, opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? That 35, hypotenuse. Vx, adjacent. Okay. What do you want to find first, Vx or Vy? Now, I'm going to plan my strategy just a little bit. What else did they give me in this question? Something vertical or something horizontal? I'm going to find Vx first. I'm going to find Vy second, because I'm probably going to solve this vertically, and that way I'll have an answer stored on my calculator, and I can use my answer button. And yes, Martin, I'm that lazy, and I do think about these things. I want to be organized. So I'm going to find Vx first. Which trig function is Vx? Cos. So it's going to be cos, not 35, cos 20 equals Vx over 35. Vx ends up being 35 cos 20. And I get 32.8892. I'll carry some extra sig figs. And which trig function do you think Vy initial is going to be then? Sine? So if I'm clever, I can just backspace edit and change the cos to a sine. And I get 11.9707. Was that okay, or did I go too fast, Chantal? You okay with that? I didn't even write the sine down. Alrighty. Cliff at an angle. Did I say angle is the job for components? This is a projectile. What's my strategy for a projectile? I make a table. What kind of a table? I'm going to make a T-chart or a T-table. So now, yoink. Horizontal, vertical. You know, instead of H and V, I should probably put X and Y just to remind myself. Well, whatever you want to use. Ryan, what are my physics no-brainers? What's the horizontal acceleration? What's the horizontal? Stop doing that. What's the vertical acceleration? Yes. Good. And then I know that Vx is 32.8892 and Vy initial is 11.9707. Now in the last question, rather than evaluate these, in the last question, I just left them as trig functions, and you can do that too. It's whatever you feel is more comfortable for you, Chantal. If you are going to evaluate them, go to like 5 or 6 sig figs though, because you're going to use this to find other stuff, and we don't want to round off if we can avoid it. What else do I know? I got a 20. That 20, vertical or horizontal? What's the mistake that I just made? Yeah, you are going to have to put a negative in front of the 20. Unfortunately, missing that negative, there's not necessarily going to be a calculator error or glitch later on that will tell you that something has gone wrong. Horizontally from a cliff, if you miss the negative, you're going to be okay, because you will get an error on your calculator later on, and that's going to say to you, you've done something wonky here. Here, depending on the numbers, not necessarily. Okay. What does A want me to find? Time. Which column do I have 3 things in? So I'm going to solve this vertically. By the way, a much, much easier question. Don't write this down. If they give me the horizontal distance, the range, suppose they told me the range was like 119 meters, then I can solve for time by using that equation there. What happened to the plus a half AT squared? So don't need to worry about it. Is that a quadratic? No, it's way easier. How do I get the t by itself? Divide by Vx. The time is just going to be that number divided by that number. So if they give you the horizontal values, it dramatically makes the question easier, which is why I'm giving you the vertical values to make it tougher. So I guess I'm going to go like this. D equals VIT plus a half AT squared. Negative 20 equals 11.9707 T minus 4.9 T squared. What kind of an equation is that? It's a quadratic. How do I know? Because it has a squared. T squared. How do I solve a quadratic before I do anything else? Got to make it equal to 0. And here is where I introduce to you my quirk. I hate having the quadratic term negative, so I would almost certainly plus the 4.9 T squared over and minus the 11.9707 T minus 20 equals 0. And now I offer you a choice. I can continue with the quadratic formula, or I can go Vy final squared equals Vy initial squared plus 2Ay dy. Who would prefer to use the quadratic formula method? I bet you the overlap between the people that just raised their hand and the people that have the built-in solver is probably pretty good. Who would prefer to use the Vy final method? No one. Oh, this is weird. Normally in almost all my other years, there's a massive preference to avoid the quadratic formula. Who has a quadratic solver? Okay. Find T. I'm going to do the Vy final method here really quickly and see if I get the same T as you folks do with the quadratic solver method. Answer button squared minus 2 times negative 9.8 times negative 20 square root. Do you have a quadratic solver on yours? Okay, so you're gonna have to do those of you that don't have a solver are gonna have to use the quadratic formula, or you can do it this way. Uh-oh. Good gosh, did I type it in wrong? I'll be annoyed if I did. Plus, Mr. Dueck, why did you write minus? Arg, that's going to domino all the way through. So, let's bring that back. Answer button, squared, plus 2 times negative 9.8 times negative 20. Square root of that. And I get Vy final is negative 23.1356. And then I can go T equals V final minus V initial over A, which is going to be negative 23.136 minus 11.9707 all over negative 9.8. Negative answer button minus 11.9707 all divided by negative 9.8. Those of you that use the quadratic formula, did you get 3.58 and our 2 might match? I doubt our 3 matches. Does our 3 match? Because I rounded off a little bit. But I'm guessing somewhere around here my decimal doesn't quite match your decimal. Okay? So either method's fine. Which method is correct? Honestly, Chantel, it depends on what calculator I have handy. If I have a quadratic solver, I'm going to do that. If I have a good calculator with a multi-line display that doesn't have a quadratic solver, I'm probably faster finding Vy final and just using my answer button all the way through. I can probably get there quicker than if I actually crunch the quadratic formula. And so in the interest of speed, I might go that way because I can type it faster, even though it's more writing. But I can do this right-hand method without writing anything down in a pinch if I need to, if I'm in a rush and I have to generate an answer key. So which method's correct? Whichever. 3.582, is the 3 correct? Those of you that use the quadratic solver, is the 3 correct? So is the 6 next to it correct? So the 3 would become a, I'm going to go 3.5824. And then I'm going to write it one more time to 3 sig figs as my final answer, 3.58 seconds. I'll put a box around my final answer, but the 3.5824 is what I'm going to use for the rest of this. That was A. I got room to do B right here, or the part 2. It said find the, yeah, B. Find the range. Okay. dx equals vxt. What happened to the half at squared horizontally? What's the acceleration, Ryan? Think carefully. What's the horizontal acceleration? 0. Good. Vx, I have no idea what it was. It was 32.8892. Time, all right, 3.5824. Although I'll probably use my answer button. You get 118 if I go to 3 sig figs? Or am I wrong? Thumbs up, Brian. Anyone else? Yeah, okay. What do we spend most of our time finding? Okay. Usually that means if they tell you time, question falls apart. Example 3. We have done part of this already. First of all, I like example 3, I like example 3, I like example 3. On your test, almost certainly I'm going to give you cliff at an angle. Cliff at an angle. And I'll probably ask you to find the range. If I give you the range and say find the height, that makes the question really easy. And I want something to have a little bit of teeth. Okay. Let's see. Boy, we got a lot more to do here. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to dulp. Cliff. This time I didn't give you the picture. 64 degrees. Initial velocity of 36 meters per second. What am I going to do first here? Components. Okay. There's Vx. There's Vy initial. That 36 opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. Vx adjacent. Vy opposite. What is part B asking me to find? Okay. Vy, Vx. Let's find Vx first. Which trig function? So it's going to be cos 64 equals Vx over 36. So Vx is going to end up being 36 times cos 64. 15.7814. Which trig function is Vy going to be? Sine? So does that mean it's going to be the same as this but with a sine right there? So I can just backspace and edit if I'm clever. 32.3566. What did I say? 32.3566. Now what would I do? T-chart. Horizontal, vertical. Ryan, what are my two physics no-brainers? What's the horizontal acceleration? Good. And what's the vertical acceleration? By the way, if this was a 7-mark question, which it will be, I'd probably give you 1 mark for writing that, because that's part of what you need to know to solve this. And although I've nicknamed them no-brainers, they aren't. You need to know your physics to do that. And I can go Vx equals 15.7184 and Vy initial equals 32.3566. In the interest of time, I'm going to skip A. You can try it on your own if you're bored, but we just found the range on the last question, and last day we also found the range. So instead, I've done my T-chart, I've got some information. I'm going to jump to the next page, part B. You've all just turned the page, so can you all turn the page? I'm just going to stay here so we have our data in front of us. What does part B want me to find? Which time? Maximum height. Oh, at the top? Does that suggest vertical or horizontal? Okay, so it's asking me to find time top, question mark. So I'm going to quickly rewrite my vertical information. Vy initial was 32.3566. And AY was negative 9.8. Uh-oh, I only have 2 things. I need 3 things to find the 4th. Okay. Do me a favor, draw a little line down the middle of your page, because we're going to do the maximum height over here. So the time, I'm looking for an equation that has a V initial, a V final, an A, and a T. Oh, this is our good old friend VF equals VI plus AT, but I'm going to be brave and I'm going to get the VF by itself. It's going to be 0 minus 32.3566 all over A, thank you, all over negative 9.8. In my defense, I would have put the negative 9.8 in there anyways. That was my brain was thinking that. But you're good. You're right. Good catch. 0 minus answer button. Close bracket divided by negative 9.8. Do you get a time of 3.3017? Which is 3.3 seconds. Cool. What's the second thing this question is asking me to find? Height. Does the word height suggest vertical or horizontal? Oh, so let's solve this vertically. So I guess it's wanting me to find that. What equation could I use to find that? Hey, I think I can go, as long as I use vertical values in all of this. And you'll notice this time the half AT squared did not cancel out because we're vertical. And the VIT didn't cancel out because VY initial is not 0, VY final is 0. That's not what we're solving right now. So it's going to be 32.3566 times answer button plus a half times negative 9.8 times answer button squared. Yeah? What do you get? Oh, predictions. At the top, are we above from where we started or below from where we started? This is meant to be stupidly obvious, but... So am I expecting a positive displacement or a negative displacement? If I get a negative, I'll freak out. It means a typo, right? Do y'all get 53.4? Why is this wrong? Because it is wrong. Why is this wrong? Darwin, what? We're starting from a cliff, and this asks for the height from the ground. So now, that's how high we are above from where we started from, but did we start on the ground? Go look at your DULP. No, we did not. So now, I have to add, was it 45 meters? And that's what gives me the final 98.4 meters high. I think I said to you, by the way, last day that if I'd done my job right, I won't be teaching you anything new today. I hope I haven't showed you anything new today. All we're doing, Chantal, is being clever and saying, what else can I say? And just be careful. I'm not going to make any incorrect assumptions. I'm not going to just magically pull numbers from anywhere. I have to really think about the situation. Goggin, what C you want me to find? When? At t equals 2.4. Here's what I think that looks like. Don't write this down just yet. Like that. Don't write that down. Or, it could be on the way down, like that. But I'm telling you, the velocity is slanty-ish at an angle. Did I say angle? Let's remember that. I don't know whether it's on the way up or on the way down. Or do I? How do I know it's still on the way up? Ah, at the top is 3.3. This is less than that, so it hasn't reached the top yet. So now, Brian, let's DULP. Let's imagine the velocity after 2.4 seconds looks something like this. This is the velocity that we're interested in. Now, it could be steeper, it could be shallower. I don't care. But it's definitely at an angle. Did I say angle? Oh, wait a minute. I know Vx because Vx never changes. What was Vx from the previous page? You stay here, I'll scroll back. 15.7184 from our T table. Vy final, is it 32.3566? No, it's Vy initial. Oh. I don't know that. Wait a minute. Goggin, Vy, vertical or horizontal? Let's make a little mini half of a T chart here. Let's just do a vertical section here. So vertically, I know Ay is negative 9.8. I know Vy at the start was 32.3566. Oh! What else do I know? So I don't have to spend most of my time finding time. They gave me time, and if you know time, the question falls apart. So time is 2.4. Is that enough for me to find Vy final? Yeah, okay. What equation could I use? Oh, that one? So although this question looked really intimidating at first, if I break it up into the proper chunks, into the proper components, it actually ends up being pretty good. I get Vy final equals Vy initial plus AT. It's going to be Vy initial 32.3566 plus negative 9.8 times 2.4. Now, we were lucky. We had done part B first, so we knew this was still on its way up. What if we didn't know whether it was on its way up or on its way down? Here's what I would do. Before I dulped, I would make a mental note, I need to find Vy final. I would do that in the margin here without still having drawn a picture yet. I would crunch the numbers. If I got a negative answer for Vy final, that means I'm on my way. And I would draw my arrow pointing down that way. And then I would continue as we've just done. If I got a positive answer, I'm on my way up. So I can actually predict that even without knowing that at the top I was at 3.3 seconds. Or I could find time to the top for that matter. But I'm lazy. I would do it this way. I get a positive answer, 8.8366. So this is 8.8366. How can I find the magnitude of V? Really? Math 8? Wow. So it's going to be 8.8366 squared plus 15.7184 squared, square root, 18.0. Except that's not the velocity, that's the speed. How do I turn this into a velocity? Where will the theta be? Bottom left or top right? Bottom left. And we're going to call this above the horizontal as opposed to below the horizontal. And lo and behold, I think I can use tan again. I think I'll end up with tan theta equals 8.8366 over 15.7184. Do you all get 29.3 degrees? So we can find a range if you give me the height. We can find, I guess, a cliff height if you give me the range. How high is the cliff? I can find dy. We can find how long to get to the top. We can find a velocity anywhere along the path as well as the impact velocity. What if the projectile is launched horizontally? Key thing to remember, if we launch horizontally, what is, Vy initial? 0. Students don't like that. That's a common mistake. That makes the question much, much easier. If we launch from a cliff horizontally, you'll be given a Vx, but Vy initial will be 0, and that makes the question easier, but I've lost track of how many times students have put the Vx right there because I don't want it to be a 0. It should be a number. 0 is a number. Really nice number to do math with. All of you can do the 0 times table in your head. Looking at how much I want to cover here. Is that my last one? No, I got 2 more. I've left lots of room on purpose. Okay. We'll see if we get through all this. We'll do example 5. Oh! Example 5 is going to be easy. How do I know? They gave me time. So instead of spending most of my time finding time, I'm going to jump on right in. I'm still going to do, since it's a projectile at an angle, did I say angle components? Let's do that first. So there's Vx, there's Vy initial, hypotenuse, adjacent, opposite. Mr. Dueck, I noticed that Vy has always been sine. Will that be the case? For a projectile question, as long as I give you the velocity from the horizontal, and I think I always will, then yes, Vy initial will be sine and Vx will be cos, if you're noticing a pattern. Now, if for some reason the question gives you that velocity, all bets are off and be a bit more scared. I'm just trying to think if I've ever done that. I don't think I have. So we're going to get cos 30 equals Vx over 20 . $17.3205. And then I think Vy initial is going to be sine 30 times 20. That one should work out dead even to 10, I believe, yeah? Okay. Martin, what's A want me to find? You know what? I'm going to do a T-chart before I even dive on in. So here we go. Horizontal, vertical, AX equals 0, AY equals negative 9.8, and now I can go Vx equals 17.3205, Vy initial equals 10. Uh-oh. I only know two things. Oh, wait. Why is this question easy? What did they give me? And what's so nice about time? Which column does it go under? Both. And so instantly I have, what was it, 5.2? I have three things in each column. So now, go to town. Sorry, Martin, what did they want me to find for part A? Height, vertical or horizontal, do you think? So I'm going to make a little note here. They want me to find dy equals question mark, and I'm going to focus on this stuff. Martin, is there an equation that has a d, an a v initial, and a t in it? There is one. Why am I thinking bad thoughts right now? Is a 0 on the vertical side? So I have to include that. So what I would have done, Martin, is I would have said vertical, 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 just to remind myself, and I'll be okay here. But here's a nice thing. Do I need to get the d by itself? It already is. It's straight plug and chug. It's going to be 10 times 5.2 plus negative 0.5 times negative 9.8. I've done a half of negative 9.8 so often that I often just do the 4.9 in my head, but I don't want to scare you folks. 5.2 squared. (10 times 5.2 plus 0.5 times negative 9.8 times 5.2 squared. That typed in right, Mr. Dueck? Yes, it is. You get negative 80.5. Should the negative scare me, or should the negative make me smile? Why do I smile? What's the negative telling me? I ended up... Oh, I should have expected a negative, Martin. I did end up below where I started from, because I'm on a cliff, and I ended up down there. So the fact that I got a negative actually made me relax. 80.5. Now, technically, a height is a scalar, and so we don't say the cliff is negative 80.5 meters high, but I'll be honest, if you leave the negative there, I won't freak out. Because there is some useful information in that negative. You ended up below from where you started. Hannah, what's B you want me to find? Range? Oh. dx equals vxt. Plus a half at squared? Nope. Here the a will definitely cancel because a is 0. So it's going to be 17.3205 times 5.2. Have we had to pull out the quadratic formula here? Nope. Have we even had to do much formula manipulation here? Nope. If you know time, question falls apart. Am I expecting a positive or a negative answer here? Here I think a positive, because it could be argued that the projectile went forwards or to the right, or okay. So do you get 90.1? No, yes, no, yeah, okay. There's one answer. There's another answer. C. What's the final velocity just before impact? And I think I left you, did I leave you like a half blank page here? On the right, on the next page over, I think, yeah? Yeah. Did you turn the page to get there? Okay, sorry. C. I'm going to start out by dulping. I know what the impact velocity looks like. Could be steeper, could be shallower. I don't care, but I do know it's going down at an angle. Did I say angle? And here, this is going to be Vx, and that one I know. It's going to be 17.3205. This is going to be Vy final. The most common mistake, kids on the Vy final, you all stay on this page, please don't turn the page. They put 10. And then when they do the Pythagoras, they end up getting a final impact velocity of 20 meters per second, and they get an angle of 30 degrees, and what they don't realize that they've just done is they've uncomponentized and just found the original slanty velocity that I gave you. Vy final is not 10. I have to calculate it. Vertical. I know that Ay is negative 9.8. I know Vy initial is 10. Oh. I know dy is negative 80.5. Oh, no, they gave me time. Did they give me time? Wait a minute. They gave me time. I was thinking I hadn't found time. No, I didn't find time. They told it to me. T is 5.2 seconds. You could use that dy, by the way, as well, but T is 5.2 seconds. I can get a VF easily from that. What equation has a VF, a T, a VI, and an A in it? There is one. Yeah, I can go Vy final equals Vy initial plus AT. It's going to be 10 plus negative 9.8 times 5.2. I get a negative answer. What's the negative answer telling me? We are on the way down, which matches my understanding. I'm not going to put the negative on my actual triangle, so I'll write negative 40.96. I'll put 40.96. Where is the negative on my triangle? Right there, with that little down arrow. Now what? Pythagoras. And where am I going to put theta? Top left or bottom right? Okay. So here's my impact velocity. going to be that number squared plus 17.3205 squared square root 44.5 meters per second at opposite adjacent tan theta equals 40.96 over 17.3205. And I get a theta of 67.1 degrees. And then how would I give this direction? I would say below the horizontal. Okay. I've been talking an awful lot. I was going to get to this one. We won't yet. We're going to hit pause. But as a start right now, you can certainly do number one. I would do these on a separate piece of paper. I'm going to just assign that for now. Okay? You can technically now do every question on the ultimate review. Next class, I'll finish. We'll do this question here, and I'll be giving you a take-home quiz. That's when? Thursday. And then we'll mark the take-home quiz the following week, Tuesday. So I'm thinking your test on this stuff is going to be a week from Thursday. That'll be our first unit test. I think that's right before Pro D-Day for you, so that gives you no homework for that long weekend, I think. Okay? Thank you for your patience. That was lots.